And here we are, everybody. Happy Derby week to you. Kevin Harned, Ryan Hoke on a 5-0 Tuesday.
Yes, 5-0 Tuesday. That's the date.
That's what it
You
is.
weren't sure about it for a minute.
Well, I was like 5-0 day. No, that's not it. 5-0 tomorrow. No, that's not it. It's 5-0 Tuesday. So, hi, everybody. We've got your Derby week forecast here. We're going to dive into that. We've got a few folks on. The severe weather threat is just about over for everybody. The lone holdout, our southernmost county, Adair County. I'm going to show you what the radar looks like there coming up in just a few minutes. If you have a chance, go ahead and push this out on your social streams so we can get as many folks in here at one time so we don't have to repeat ourselves. It always happens, but we're here for a limited time tonight, about 30 minutes on the stream with the severe weather ending. And then, of course, we'll do this again tomorrow night, fine-tuning that Thurby, Oaks, and Derby forecast, of course, as we go along the way.
Like, share, and subscribe, as they say. Yeah, that Oaks and Derby forecast has had some fine-tuning done to it today. Maybe not the most positive thing in the world, but you'll see some of the latest data that we have and something exclusive to us that our viewers have been enjoying this week when it comes to our Futurecast information that we're able to share with you.
Yeah, it's called Climavision. That's the company that developed this model called Horizon AI. They're located here in Louisville, which is kind of special. So we were able to work with them and debut that model data for the first time across the country right here in Louisville. And we've been sharing that. And we're going to give you what it looks like for the Oaks and Derby forecast and Thurby too coming up. And just remember, a model is just a tool. It's not meant to say, oh, that's gospel and that's what it's going to be like. It's a tool. So the good news about this tool is that it is a very rare high-resolution model that goes out 1 week. Most of our high-resolution models just capture a couple of days.
Yeah, so for you model nerds out there, this is kind of a treat. It's almost like an extended HRRR model, a big deal for us here. And hopefully we'll be able to use it a little bit more during the week.
Well, we're going to show it to you coming up here. Let's dive in. You can see we're seeing at least a sunset, which after today, some folks would have thought, well, maybe we're not going to see much in the way of sun at all, but at least a few rays of sun trying to poke through. We do have the alert day in place for just a few more minutes, really, today, but it goes on tomorrow and again on Thursday. These waves of storms through the afternoon and evening hours have that potential to be severe, and we've seen some of that today.
Yeah, severe, especially in counties west of us and counties east of us. We got a little gap today, but we did have, of course, some severe weather within our counties and some severe thunderstorm warnings as well. By and large, though, today was not as bad as it could have been. Most of the wind shear was to our north and east, and the storm timing was just kind of perfect to gap us here with not seeing a whole lot of severe weather. So this is our impact timeline, gives you sort of a 30,000-foot view at the 3 severe weather risks. We're just about done with the first here, but 2 more to come.
Yeah, and the next one will be tomorrow, again, through the mid to late afternoon and evening hours, and you'll see that. You'll notice that flooding sort of swath there. Any of these thunderstorms have the potential to produce some very heavy rainfall, so that's really a flash flooding threat. And then, of course, Thursday night will come with a wind threat and a small severe weather threat as well. That one will be, again, late afternoon, early evening. And then while we take the severe chance out, unfortunately, we do not take the rain chance out for Friday and Saturday. So this is just really an impact in terms of severe weather or high impact weather. So keep that in mind as we're looking ahead. The severe risk the next 3 days from the Storm Prediction Center today obviously was the higher risk. We had that enhanced risk area. That's 3 out of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. And then you'll notice Wednesday and Thursday, we're back into that low range, and that's the marginal risk, which is 1 out of 5.
And a lot of people have already been asking, could those get upgraded? Yes, they could, especially tomorrow if there's any sort of, slightly higher tornado threat than what we're seeing right now. That could go slight risk pretty quickly. So yes, something to keep up with, something to track. That severe thunderstorm watch, by the way, goes until 1 o'clock in the morning. Most of our counties trimmed out of it, but still some of us in Southern Kentucky in it.
Yeah, and some of us are still seeing some storms down that way, especially Adair County, as we pointed out. So let's just dive in a little bit more. You can see these downpours, some getting over an inch of rain. Look at Paoli, almost 1 inch of rain there, half an inch from Seymour. Bedford had over over 1.2 inches of rain. You see a little bit heavier downpours off to our south. That's where we saw that leading edge redevelop. So we had those storms moving in from the west that were strong. Southern Indiana, as we were talking about on the afternoon newscast, would have been in the bullseye. So that's why they got sort of walloped with the rain. And then another line of storms took over out ahead of that, just off to our south and east. And that's why areas down toward Campbellsville, even Bardstown, got a pretty decent rain out of it. And Frankfort moving over toward Lexington. So sort of gapped in between some places in Bullitt County and even here in Louisville. Didn't pick up any rain at all.
No, and it was just kind of the perfect recipe for that gap here. But those that did see severe weather were mainly to our northwest and to our east. You see one of those severe weather reports there from Washington County. Of course, large tree down there, and Franklin County. Big hail. Quarter-inch hail.
Quarter-inch hail there. So we did have a few hail reports, even some pea-sized hail out of places like Bardstown. Saw a couple more hail reports coming out of western parts of Jennings County. Well, what's happening now happens to be the thunderstorms to our south, still seeing strong to severe storms down across Adair County, and you're under that warning until 8:15. So that's local time there. Right now, again, it's mainly less than quarter size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. All this radar indicated. Haven't had any damage reports out of that storm, though I did see a few trees down earlier from the previous one.
Right, yes, from the previous storm there. I do want to point out that warning with the black outline near Edmonton, Kentucky. That has been allowed to expire, just hasn't hit our system yet. That one did have a tornado possible tag on it, but all these storms basically moving out of our area. Kevin's showing you the velocity view right now. Nothing really suspect in there, and that's why these warnings are getting ready to fade off the screen here pretty quickly, as it were. You'll see the warnings do continue in eastern Kentucky. And look at that rogue tornado warning near Akron, Ohio. Woof, yikes, right along that front.
Yeah, that's where it's at. All of the action along the cold front in that area of low pressure. And you remember the last time we had the 3 back-to-back alert days?
Oh, I remember.
And we had the front, and it never went away, and it was persistent overnight. And it was like, what gives here? How long can we stay at the TV station to pass along warnings? And it was night after night, and that's when we had the strong tornado. In fact, the strongest that we've had since 1974 in the metro area.
That's right.
That was what were the wind speeds? 125?
Yeah, it was 145 miles.
145 miles.
Yeah, it was a J-Town, of course, that tornado that hit the industrial park there. Can you believe that was only like 3.5 weeks ago?
Oh, it seems like
a year.
Yeah. I mean, what an active year. You think back to the snow that we had that was coming just after the New Year's
January
holiday.
5th was the big snowstorm here. Yeah.
That hit us. Then we went into severe weather. Then we went into flooding. And then it's just been nonstop.
Are you tired? I think I'm tired of this.
Tired of just talking about
We've had a year's worth of weather in about 4 months. That was the phrase I used.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, but it really has been just all too much for some of us, and especially, poor KDF festival organizers. They've had such a rough go of it with the balloon events, and of course, Thunder getting canceled.
Yeah, and when we were doing the parade on Sunday, we were talking about all of that, and I was on the phone a number of times with the balloon meister, and we were talking just about the winds, and I don't think anybody really complained once they really saw the magnitude of the flooding that was going on in Louisville. Like, how could you have even possibly had 100,000 people downtown? It couldn't happen. Not only that, but there are so many logistical things that have to happen with the river to have that air show. You have to have a center marker boat that is in the river, and you have to hold it still. And you can't do that when high water and a current's going on, much less the barges and the fireworks, getting those set up and on the barges.
Right, because when the water is high, the velocity of the water gets higher, so it's not safe to do all of that. Add on to the fact that you've got a muddy Great Lawn. They had to do all that cleanup. You had fiber, and you had power, and you had all of these different lines they would have to put down, and they would be underwater. That's no good. So none of it just made sense. So that's why they made the decision to cancel.
Yeah, let's dive into the next couple of days here. I'm going to start by, again, showing the warning to our south. This is for Adair County. We've been watching this, by the way. It's nothing too extreme, or we'd be on the air with it. And we've been watching that rotation, or the velocity that we looked at. Still very muted at best. Could have some gust out of it. Not too crazy. Here is the future cast for tomorrow. It's Wednesday, W-I-N-S day, Wednesday. good luck if you're headed to the track tomorrow. And hopefully you had good luck today.
Yeah. Wednesday, formerly Champions Day, by the way, for those who don't know what this is. Churchill Downs kind of inventing names for days of the week leading up to Derby. So we've been following suit.
Yeah, and you'll notice this warm front lifting to the north. Anytime there's a front around, we have enhanced lift. That lift creates the ability for thunderstorms to develop, and that's what we'll have tomorrow from midday into the afternoon. I think the better chance is probably mid to late afternoon, much like what we saw today, though we did have a round earlier, again, following the trend of being able to become warm and unstable. We see the better chances for some of these downpours. As we lift that warm front to the north again, even in the evening hours, storms along that front. And anytime you have a warm front, you got to be careful because you can rotate the storm.
Yeah, and that's the concern, and the data is all showing that this evening. These individualized cells may be supercell thunderstorms that would be rotating with hail and the potential for an isolated tornado or two tomorrow. That's why we can't rule out severe weather, even though it's quote unquote just a 1 out of 5 risk. That could get upgraded should this supercell threat grow here. So that's something we're watching, and that's why for now it's a marginal 1 out of 5 risk. Kind of an isolated situation here. You know, they do that by how widespread the severe weather would be. But if you've only got a couple of, tornado warnings, maybe it's not worth getting that slight risk. We'll see what they decide to do on that. But overnight tonight, more data will come in.
Yeah, and just know that tomorrow's storm chance is a little lower than today's was. So that's good news as well. The ability for it to both take place and the coverage area should be less than what we saw today. Even though, in Louisville, we haven't had much at all.
We got lucky.
Really did luck.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about storm chances tomorrow. They'll peak mid to late afternoon, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and then they come back down. So you'll notice a good chunk of the day, if you're making plans, should be mainly dry. You just have to be prepared for that downpour or the ability for the thunderstorm to pop up nearby, or you might need to seek shelter inside, especially if there's lightning or any type of severe weather with it, certainly. Just be prepared. Make sure if you're headed out, take a poncho. No, you can't take umbrellas into the track. So if you're going to Churchill Downs, just pack a poncho. That's the smart thing to do.
And the good news with this is late Wednesday night, this will be out of our hair well before midnight. So it appears we'll be able to get some sleep into early Thursday morning pretty easily.
All right, I want to start here. This is going to be the ClimaVision Horizon AI model, easy to say. This is what we were talking about earlier, and then I'm going to take a break in a second and come back, and we'll show you Oaks and Derby, but we will roll through Thurby here. So ClimaVision is a local weather enterprise company. They have a number of radars that they've put up to fill in gaps across the country where the NextRad service area sort of gets skipped. And that happens across parts of the country due to terrain and a number of other things.
Yeah, and they've got 2 of them here in Kentucky, one in Jamestown, Kentucky, and then another one in Dry Ridge, which is along I-75 in northern Kentucky. And while those 2 radar sites may not serve us here in wave country all that much, they take that radar data from all of those different radar sites that they privately own, and they put it into the what's called initialization of this model here. So like what the model thinks is going on right now with the weather, they can put that radar data in here to make their own kind of secret sauce of a weather model, add in a little AI, and boom, you've got a very high resolution 2-kilometer model for those weather nerds out there that goes out a week. A very similar
That's
model.
Nice. We don't have anything like that.
It's like taking the HRRR model, which goes out 2 days, and putting it all the way 7 days out. Very similar in resolution and how it acts. And in fact, it even uses the HRRR as kind of a base as well. So it's interesting to get to see and compare this data with some of the other publicly available data. But ClimaVision's been kind enough to give us this data to show you guys for Derby week so that they can kind of test bed this thing. We're the first station in the country to do this. Yeah. So this is kind of a big deal. ClimaVision, located literally down the street here in downtown Louisville, local company.
Now, the important part is, and we're all in this together, and it's like, well, let's see how well the model does, right? And that's why we're showing it. We're curious, just like you are, to get that best forecast. Will it be this model or will it be the her that winds up winning out? Well, we wouldn't be showing it if we didn't buy into it a little bit, meaning that our knowledge base was like, okay, this seems reasonable on what is going to unfold. And then I'm going to tell you some trends. And we've only had it a week, about a week and a half, I guess. No, 1 week. And so we've been taking some notes on it. If you watch Brian in the mornings do the blog from here, he probably shares some of that thinking of why we like parts of it and why we don't. So we're going to tell you what we like about it and what may be missing from it just a little bit. So I'm going to just sort of scrub through this. This is going to be Thursday morning. This is Thursday morning. There is going to be a rain chance around on Thursday. Remember, we said we had a decent chance of rain. Is it a rain out? No. Even some sunshine is possible midday. We'll buy that. But what happens when we have the sun? We get the lift and we get some thunderstorms that develop in the heating of the day.
And those storms could be quite widespread. That's why Thursday's storm chance here is back up to 80%. And you see on the model data as we scrub through time here that those storms start to blossom during the afternoon. And especially, unfortunately, by about 6, 7 o'clock is when they hit their stride here. And you can even see the model trying to create a little bow echo in some of that as it moves through. And it gets it through here pretty quickly. I like the timing on this particular run of this ClimaVision Horizon AI model, gets it out of here before midnight, which matches some of the other data that we've been seeing today.
And not too far different than what's happened today.
Correct. Very similar
similar
situation there.
So we'll scrub this through. You'll see that the rain chance fades eventually as we roll into the evening and overnight hours. That takes us into early Friday morning. So that's the ClimaVision model. You're not going to see a high resolution model that takes you out to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday anywhere else. That is it. There's nowhere else in the country that even has it. So you saw it here first, as we like to say on TV, right?
We've got a history of first here at Wave, and this is kind of another feather in our cap. We love this.
Yeah.
We're nerds like you guys, so we want to make sure that we can feed the weather geese, if you will, here.
I've been called worse. That's for sure.
Yes, you have been. Things we can't repeat here, even on a live stream with no FCC intervention.
Yeah, right? All right. You haven't? Why do you make it just sound like it's me that's just been called worse than a nerd?
You brought it up. You should see Twitter from 5 years ago. They called me all sorts of stuff on there when we had a snow forecast go south. I don't
want to talk about Twitter. All right, let's take a look. So we break it down like this. You can take the model for what it is. We wanted to show it. We used that model along with the other data that we have to make this forecast. And this is our Thursday forecast. We keep it mainly dry through midday as the model showed. So it agrees with our forecast, or we agree with the model, however you want to look at it. 76, the temperature at noontime. Headed out to the track on Thursday, pack the poncho. You might need it before you get back to the car. We've got a 40% storm chance at 3 p.m., temperature going to 80 degrees. That'll be about the high we see on Thursday. Winds out of the southwest 20 to 25 miles an hour. And you'll notice those temperatures easing back by 6, 7 o'clock with increased rain chances. So we're banking on the rain chances spreading in, much like you saw on the model, takes our temperature down, much like we saw today.
Yeah, so that's Thursday in a nutshell right there. And you'll notice that the red bars indicate when we could have severe weather, which could very well be as a lot of folks are trying to head back from the track back home on Thursday. Wow, look at that view. It's amazing to see the sun today after all we've been through.
Right? Well, that takes us to the next part of the conversation we're going to have. And of course, a lot of folks want to know about Oaks and Derby. We've got that forecast for you. Let me cue up the graphics. It's going to take just about 1 minute. We'll be right back, and we'll have your Oaks and Derby outlook. Stay with us. All right, and we're back with you here. We've got the graphics for you so you can see what's happening. Again, beautiful sunset going on. Hey, Travis, welcome to the stream, we'll want to say hello to you too. And you know what? It'll be the last time we say hello. Boom. That's kind of fun every once in a while, isn't it? Just get rid of them.
That was cathartic.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow.
I like that. Listen, Derby week's a busy week for us. Sometimes we don't get any sleep. If you're going to come here and say wave weather sucks, then kabam, you can beat it, Jack. We can say that on the stream.
Sure, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Hysterical.
Well, that's what I thought.
I'm just letting you do your thing.
Well, just fires me. Who does that? Comes in here and just be like, you know what? I'm going to be the bully in the room. Listen, I've been bullied enough in life. I'm not going to take it on the live stream.
Here, here.
Let's jump in. We've got Thurby, Oaks, and Derby. Now, here's the deal on this. We mentioned Thurby, so that's in the forecast. You see the rain chance ramps up. The severe chance is there as well. We try to make that easy for you to understand on TV or online, which is why graphic wizard Ryan colors the bars red. So that's easy to see.
It is, and that's why we make it that way, so that it's a one glance like, hey, when's it going to be severe? Boom, right there, that sort of thing. But this graph, it shares with you kind of the ups and the downs of the rain chances, right? So you can see those peaks, like one on Thurby evening, another one Oaks evening, and then the unfortunate part is sort of a plateau of showers now on Derby day, which we were hoping to avoid. We took out the Derby shower chance completely for like 2 hours earlier this week, and that was the kiss of death right there. I think
we even said it when we did it.
I know.
We said, we probably just jinxed ourselves.
Because I kept in at 10% because I was like, I don't want to be that guy, and then sure enough.
Well, we'll see how it works out. There's still time for that to get out of here, by the way. There's always a lot of noise, if you will, the further out you go in the model. And we must say, the models do not agree when you get that far out. I mean, they just don't right now. I mean, we've got the Euro that's calling for rain, the GFS not as much, and then we're going to get into the Horizon models here that we have. So this is Horizon AI. Remember, we said that this was the proprietary model from ClimaVision, which is located in Louisville. You'll only see this here on Wave. There's no one else in the country that has it. So we're just looking at the timestamps from 10, 2, and 6. Noting the trend. That's what's important about models. When you look at models, first of all, you need a lengthy time to review them so you can know their biases. This model has done fairly well, at least in the short time we've been able to use it, of sniffing things out far in advance.
Yeah,
I would say.
I would agree with that, because when we started getting sort of an inkling that Oaks was going to have a problem weather-wise, it was actually this data that started being the canary in the coal mine, if you will, starting to show a more aggressive rain solution here that you're still seeing on it. Now, it's been more aggressive at times, but this was the model that tipped us off that we might have a problem, and sure enough, some other data followed suit.
Yeah. And so consequently, you can see that much like each day this week has been today, how we expect tomorrow to be, what we expect on Thurby. And then you can see Oaks Day starts with a minor rain chance, but with the heating of the day, we build in the chance to see a few showers and thunderstorms. And that's why you saw that peak on that 3-day forecast of the bars going up by around that 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. time frame on Friday. Now, is it a washout? Clearly it's not, but will there be some convection around? That certainly is looking more likely than it did a few days ago.
Right. So severe weather, again, not really the thing, but even with just some lightning generically on Oaks Day, that's not great. You don't want lightning plus outdoor events. That usually equals something bad. So we'll keep an eye on the lightning.
So our forecast, consequently, looking at that data, the high resolution long range data, which is brand new, we've come up with a forecast that says there's going to be a 60% chance for a few showers and storms late in the afternoon and early into the evening hours. Now, the hope is as we get a little closer and we get additional model data in that same time frame, we're able to become a little more precise on that. And that means we'd be able to pare these hours down and adjust those percentages. But for now, we've put the 60% in from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and temperatures will be in the 70s, it looks like.
Right. So the Oaks forecast temperature-wise, is not the worst. Mid-70s, that's fine. Put a poncho on over your derby or your Oaks outfit, I should say. But the unfortunate part is that as the system continues to pull to the east by Derby Day, those temperatures go down. So we won't repeat those 70s again, which is not good.
Yeah, and we can handle 60s. You just don't want to be 60s and wet.
That's a
where
problem.
You really have the
We've
problem,
done that
right?
before.
Oh, have we ever? Yeah, so we get into Derby Day. And again, looking at the ClimaVision model, it is what it is. It's just a model. It's a piece of data. This looks like it's going to be a total washout, right? 10-6. This is the 18Z run that came in. Is this what we're saying is going to happen? No. We need more data. So let me show you what our forecast shows. And that is, yes, there is a rain chance, but it's mainly early in the day, and it's a fairly low chance. 30%. So while the model is showing increasing rain chances, and yes, we did increase the rain chance today, the question is, will we have to keep increasing the rain chance? We're not ready to do that yet until we see consistency in not only the model that we just showed, the Horizon AI, but also the long-range models that we have availability to.
And so the question you may have is, why is this changing? What happened? And the answer is that there is an area of low pressure, the mid-levels, that's moving through on Thursday and Friday, right? The problem is today, the Horizon AI and the European model, which also has a lot of credibility, started to cut that low off, meaning that it orphaned it from the flow aloft and basically let it start meandering around the Ohio Valley. When that happens, you get persistent rounds of rain. And we've seen this around Derby time before. We are no stranger to cut off flows in Derby.
2018
2018, I still have PTSD from. That was awful.
I stood in front of that monitor all day at Churchill Downs and was like, it's going to get out of here in the next couple of hours. Come on out, blah, blah, blah. And then the next hour would go by. It should just take another hour. I mean, that went on all day.
We were drenched. We were defeated. And I think nobody was happy, including us that day.
Right. I mean, sometimes we are just wrong. Frankly, this is a complicated forecast. If you start dealing with a cutoff low, oh, man, you're talking about gray hair, no hair, whatever. It is rough. And I hope that this is an early indicator that will soon fade away, because if we have to deal with that, that's just a bear. That's a beast to try to pin down, because they're erratic. And just knowing when you're going to see waves of rain, you almost just have to blanket the rain chance in there and just be like, it's going to rain, and hope it doesn't.
It's hard because when you don't have the steering winds aloft to propel these areas of low pressure that are cut off moving through, they just kind of sit there. And so it's hard to get them out of the way. The model data doesn't know what to do with them. And by the end of the thing, he looks like Mr. Clean and I look like Colonel Sanders. So it just nobody wins in this situation. Losing hair, gray hair, whatever you want to call it.
I don't mind the people in the chat calling me names, and I can block them. I didn't think my co-host here was going to jump in and call me
because
Mr.
he can't
Clean.
block me. I could have done so
I
much
can
worse.
do worse. I can punch you from here.
Mr. Clean's a good-looking guy. So are you.
Okay, thank you.
Take that as a compliment.
Yes, yeah. I just need to lose a few lbs here. All right.
He's got a lot of muscle.
So that is our Derby Day forecast. We're going to keep that small rain chance in. We're going to continue to see how the trends roll. But just know we've got this new data. We'll see how well it does. And if it's on to something, we were the first to see it here. And that means Derby looks wetter than what we think it does right now. And we'll just see how that trends. What we have noticed, let's talk a little bit about that, the trend. I said it could sniff things out down the line. Day 5, day 6, we started knowing that. We're day, 4? What we also have noticed is that the model bounces a lot, both spatially, meaning in geographic terms of where the clusters of rain or storms would be, but it also can put something in and take it away.
And part of the reason for that is because this is what's called a convection allowing model, a CAM. You may have heard Brian Good talk about that before if you're a big fan of his broadcast early in the day here. And a CAM essentially tries to sniff out individual thunderstorm cells, right? You have other models that are a lot less high resolution that are really just looking at sort of the waves in the atmosphere. They're often called spectral models, and like the GFS and the Euro, and they typically don't do that back and forth as much. But a CAM, or a convection allowing model like the HER or like the Horizon AI here, it's trying to figure out at a very minor mesoscale level what's going on with the interactions between storms, what's going to happen to them over time. And because of that, any one little tiny perturbation in that model, any little error or something that changes, can throw the whole thing into disarray in the future. So that's partially why we say, more resolution doesn't necessarily mean more accuracy, but it is nice to be able to see at least an idea of that higher resolution far out in time, so that we at least know, hey, that's what the storm mode will look like if this happens. Hey, that's kind of the timing if this happens. So it is helpful still. It's just we have to use a fine-tooth comb to go through all of the data and not just use one thing.
Yeah, and it's new, which makes it a little more like
tougher.
You can't put your confidence in it as well as you'd like to based on the other models, because you know them well. And it's like knowing a person. You kind of know the good and the bad with it, right? So that's where we are. The alert days for the next 2 days: Friday's rain chance up there late afternoon and evening. Saturday's rain chance early in the day. Let's hope that rain chance does not go up like some of the models are hinting at. And then, of course, we get into a beautifully dry week next week. How appropriate.
Yeah, finally, if that cutoff low doesn't stick around. Some of the data was like, oh, by the way.
Bang your head when you see a forecast like this and you've got such a busy week and everybody wants to be outside. And it's like, all right, Sunday through Friday looks amazing. Well, you know what? That's too late.
Gosh.
But you know one thing? We don't control the weather.
We don't. 2025 does.
yeah, evidently. Like slapping us around.
Oh, they're down. Let's hit them again.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. Let's put severe weather, in the forecast. Let's do rain for Derby. Oh,
day after day after day
come
after day.
on.
All right, you want to take some questions here? We'll spend about 5 minutes and then bail off.
Sure. Yeah, our friend Shanta says, or of course, K-Ned says he's way late to next meeting with you.
Well, Todd, so now I need to explain this since you popped that up. So Todd Richmond and I worked together for WMPI Radio in Scottsburg for many years, and Todd still works in radio in some capacities and has been on HAS and a number of other stations. But we would always say we were going to have a meeting, and we're late to a meeting because we have never actually met up and had the meeting in the course of about a few years.
Okay.
Now, there's a place over on the river near the Bristol that we were going to have the meeting at, and we never did. So I'll let people figure that out.
That's the backstory there. Shonda says if you put a cowboy hat on, you look like Kenny Chesney.
I wish.
I love that. Let's see. Monday looks like a pet bath day. Yeah, because you'll be able to be outside and wash the puppies.
Well, and every day before then it's wet and muddy, so the dogs are going to need it.
Yes. Let's see. Brandon says it has definitely been such a busy spring. I can only imagine how you guys and the team feel. Yeah, we're tired. It wears on you. It really does.
We looked. We've had 33 alert days this year.
I think that's
all of them, but 2 have verified with warnings of some sort.
Yeah, so we're doing pretty well on the track record. We'd like to be more wrong on that so we can get some sleep, but we've been doing all right.
The good part is we have an awesome team. And
that's so true.
Boy, that is really what makes a difference, because we're all in it together and everybody's pitching in, and we've all worked weekends so we don't kill Carson. And people have come in overnight and early in the morning and late at night in the evening. So can't say enough about our team, and especially when we're going into Derby week as the Derby station. We really do have a lot of things on us, from trying to get the balloons forecast right for the folks planning it, to the parade that we aired and help with the weather abilities for. Same story with what's going on at Churchill Downs. Been in touch with those folks today. So we're really it's a high pressure forecast for one, and then of course the public. I mean, we serve you every day, and to really try to get it right, because we know a lot is sort of on the forecast, whether you're making plans or canceling plans, if that may be the case. So our team is working on that, and that means more frequent updates on the app. It means trying to do it from other places because Tawana's out at Churchill Downs, so we've got to make sure we have the ability to run our shows, have somebody back here at the station, which not, we're almost, someone's here almost 24 hours a day anyway, but when someone's outside the station, we've got to bring somebody else in. To the point, our team is amazing, and from Tawana to Carson to Brian and Ryan, wouldn't want to be surrounded with anybody else.
Well, likewise. So Dallas is asking, are you folks going to add an Oaks Day as a potential alert day because of the higher rain chance, especially since the chances are higher simply because somebody will be outdoors at Churchill Downs? That is a good question, because we do have event-based impact alert days.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with Myra earlier in the studio. The tough part about that is when we come off of 2 or 3 days with severe weather, meaning we have actual trees down, flagpoles snap that you see in some of the feeds coming through here. It's tough to flag Friday as an alert day if there's no severe weather because of the trend that we've been in with the alert days. But if the rain chance goes up more or it's going to impact the race, we'll be taking into account a few things and having to make that call. It very well could be, but it would be mainly based on impact and not severe weather. And that would require us messaging that in that way.
Brandon's asking, the amount of nighttime weather events this spring has been more than usual, wouldn't you say?
Well, certainly when we had that first stretch because they were overnight, but we get into these patterns and it's tough to break nature out of a pattern. And that's what we always say, even with a drought, it's tough to break those. It's tough to break this cycle that we're in now. Let's hope that this low does not get cut off because that would keep the cycle going.
Ashley's asking about the tornado threat over the next couple of days. Would these be big tornadoes? I don't think the atmosphere has it in it to do that.
No, but there's still going to be a chance for tornadoes. And, if you're hit by a big one or a small one, it's still a tornado.
Yeah, Brandon's asking again, do you think tomorrow's tornado threat higher than today was? Yes, I think so. We didn't have any tornado today. So, and the warm front, increases the shear and the moisture, all that jazz. Let's see. Anybody else here? Angela says, I'm in Taylorsville. We had a 2-second burst of rain, and that was it.
I think that's about what we had here. I
think so.
I didn't see much downtown.
Yeah, and that's the same story from Megan. She said, all I noticed was just some rain in Louisville. It's kind of like, what happened there? Well, it's all about that second line of storms that developed and kind of destroyed the first line that was moving in. In fact, Mark here says, I didn't get a single drop in Hikes Point.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me. When we showed you that rainfall map, it was clear. And that's what happens when you get the leading edge, or sometimes an outflow boundary will take over and it robs energy and moisture from what's behind it. So that's just the way the atmosphere works.
Gerald's asking about the steamboat race. Ooh, could there be problems with that? We'll see.
Yeah, but, I don't think they've ever had major problems. They still go. They have indoor abilities on that. So it really has to be bad. I think there was one time there was a tornado warning and they had to what do you call it when you get off a boat?
Abandon ship?
Well, they didn't jump overboard.
They did disembark.
Disembark. That's why I didn't want to deplane for a plane. Disembark. That's what I was thinking of.
I just finished reading a book, by the way, about a ship sinking, so that's why I was like, abandoned ship.
Yeah. Get in the dinghy. Let's go.
No. Disembarkation.
Disembark. Yeah,
that's the nicer word to say.
A better way to go. I was keeping up with that Clearwater ferry, which was a terrible accident.
That's awful. I heard about that. They didn't even have a
chance.
Poor guys.
What happened years ago, I think back then, this is when we had a county judge. I think it was Rebecca Jackson. And that team, they had to pull the boat to the side and get off the boat because a tornado had hit somewhere in Jefferson County. I don't know if they were just trying to get her off so she could go attend to business or if it was because they were worried. But anyway.
I still have a ruler at home that says County Judge Executive Rebecca Jackson. It's probably 20 years old, that ruler. Goodness.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think we still actually have a county judge. They just have no power since the
I guess they're just not giving out rulers at the state fair anymore with their names on it.
They probably have no budget.
Right. Yeah. Everything's metro now. That's how it works. Debarkation, says Todd Richmond. Yes. Debarkation, disembarkation, whatever we want to call it there. Yes. The steamboat race will probably happen. That should be okay the way we were just talking there. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? This has devolved into a off-topic discussion. As
What's
it usually
the one
does.
you're hovering over, the criteria? Oh, breaking it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing. When we started alert days, which go back to like 18?
2018 or 19, yeah.
Yeah. So we've done them for years now. But it really was a battle with our corporate folks back then because they wanted us to do alert days. But our argument back was, well, we can't cry wolf. Like if we're going to have an alert day, we have to have criteria. So we spent about a year developing criteria that would be meaningful to the viewer, that it would be an alert day. And over time, we massage the criteria. So because the weather changes, patterns change, things, we learn as we go. So we've been able to make a few changes to the criteria, but it's still very helpful. And the bottom line on the alert days is there's still the same reason they were always there for, and that's just to say, hey, you're going to need to pay closer attention to today. And the reason why they were developed is because the world got busy, seemed like all of a sudden, and which wasn't the case. I mean, it happened over years, but everybody was busy. Kids were at sporting events. There were moms and dads running everywhere, and nobody was sitting in front of a TV all day, every day to listen to everything. So for the world of weather, it was a way to say, hey, pay attention to this day. And boy, our track record, because now we keep up with not only how accurate they are, but how far in advance we've issued them.
It's one of the biggest spreadsheets I've ever made, is keeping track of all of these alert days from, I think it was January 2019 is when we debuted them. So
okay. So we spent 2018 developing
we
them.
did. And then January 1 of 19, there go the alert days. And so we know every single alert day we've ever declared, what happened, why we did it. And it's kind of amazing to look back at that. And we have research that shows that this is something that viewers want and that people are looking for. So when you guys say you want something, guess what we do? We make sure that we're able to serve you in that fashion.
All right. Well, listen, it's about 9:15. We still have part of the day to get through. I still have dinner to eat before.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't eaten?
I'm starving. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's wrap this up. We'll say goodbye. Thank you, guys. We'll be back on tomorrow evening. We're going to be here every evening this week as we get closer to Oaks and Derby to make sure you have the forecast you need. Hope you have a good evening. Don't worry about severe weather. They're going the watch that was in place to the south being allowed to expire. All the severe weather threat has ended as we push these storms off to our east. We may do it again tomorrow, but today it's over. I'll see you back on Wave News at 11 o'clock. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.